What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Yala, your thrice weekly podcast where we talk about the hottest news and some very interesting people with a touch of what, Terrence?
Good old humor.
Good old humor, man.
Yeah.
This is another interesting episode. We have a very special guest today who's in the space of fitness and wellness, which is quite a common theme for our recent podcast. Aside from the elections.
Oh, yeah. That one also about fitness and wellness, meditation and everything.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, correct.
But yes.
Correct.
We digress.
We'd like to say a big hello to co-founder of Ritual Gym, Ian Tan, who is sitting right in front of us. Thank you so much for joining us, man.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
What's up, Ian? Yeah. So,
did you, before we start, have you worked out today already before coming
No,
here?
but I got in an ice bath.
Oh, an ice bath?
An ice bath?
In the morning?
Yeah.
We're literally 10-something in the morning,
shit.
and he's already done the ice bath. How come? Is that part of the daily ritual?
Yeah,
so to speak?
it's part of my daily ritual because it helps me calm my nerves if I wake up with a bit of anxiety. Yeah, it helps me most with that.
I thought when Terrence asked you that question, you're going to be like, dude, don't just assume that because I run a gym, I exercise every morning. But then you hit us with something that's even more high level.
No, but that's the thing though.
Ice bath.
Yeah, people do expect that I'm like some super fitness freak just because I run a gym. Yeah, it's not the reality. Not anymore, at least.
But isn't an ice bath hardly relaxing? It's really tingly for your...
Yeah, that's part of it,
nerves,
right? It's super intense for a short period of time. And then after that, your nervous system is like, okay, now I can chill.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, and then it kind of lasts the rest of the day.
But how do you prepare it every morning? You do it at home, you just open your fridge and take out the ice?
It's actually super anyhow how I do it.
Oh, really?
A few years ago, I bought a secondhand freezer on Carousel, one of those chest freezers.
Yeah.
You mean the one that is you horizontal and you open up the door? Okay.
Yeah, I did the poor man's version of the ice bath. And I fill it with water and fill it with ice. And then that water lasts me a few weeks. And I just, every day I turn it on for a couple of hours and it stays freezing cold.
Oh.
Yeah, so I put a chlorine tablet in there to keep it clean. But every few weeks I change out the water.
So that means the night before, what, you turn it on or something?
The morning of.
So
I wake up quite early and then I leave it on for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then
and then you go into the ice bath.
You go
turn it off first.
You jump into the freezer. You jump to the freezer, basically.
Yes.
No, because I was going to say, isn't there some concern of the electricity?
I totally understand. It's a bit ridiculous of a thing to do. I totally understand.
Wow.
Yeah.
I thought you were doing it in a bathtub or something, but you're doing it in the freezer.
Yeah, because my question also was how many times you have to go to the fridge and come back to your bathtub and all. But no, you have a freezer.
That makes sense.
So I mean, how early is early when you wake up?
I wake up about 7.
Okay.
And then I turn it on. And then hang out with my daughter, hang out with my wife for a while. And then I get in about 9.
Okay.
9. And by then the temperature is what?
It actually, because it's a freezer and there's insulation, it stays pretty cold even if I don't turn it on for a day or so.
I see. But the ice would have all melted. It would be water.
Yeah, I have it around 4 to 8 degrees. So sometimes if I leave it on too long, there's ice chips floating around. But usually I keep it just above that temperature where there's ice chips.
And then you go in for how long?
About 3 minutes.
Oh, so yeah, just
very quick. Very quick.
Okay.
Some people push that to 5 minutes, 8 minutes, 10 minutes, but I keep it at around 3. I don't need to prove myself in that.
Oh shit!
I thought the ice baths were something you do right after exercise or something to sort of cool everything down. But you're saying that the morning, it's a great way to wake up and just shock your nervous system in the morning also?
People do it after exercise for different reasons.
Okay.
You can do it with a certain protocol for fat loss as well, because it activates something called brown fat. But in the post-exercise part, if let's just say you're an athlete and you train, say, 5 days a week, 6 days a week, but you train twice a day, which actually a lot of athletes have to do because they have to practice the skills all the time.
Yeah.
They are the ones who would get into the ice bath or do contrast, which is ice bath and sauna, going back and forth a few times after training because it helps with recovery. So they're ready to train again. But the issue with that is if you're just training for regular fitness, you actually don't allow your body to finish the recovery process in terms of building strength. So if you're just training for like everyday health, it's better to separate when you do the ice from your exercise.
So have a longer period of time between.
Yeah, it's just a different game that you play, right? If you're playing, if you're a high level athlete and you just want to be ready to practice again in a few hours or the next day, it's more important that you are able to do the practice well than it is for you to get like a little bit stronger, if that makes sense.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. So then what's the science behind the morning routine? Because it's not say you do it like after a workout or something. What's the science of like, or is it just the shock of having that low temperature?
Well, it's the shock of it has been shown to help with things like anxiety. It has been shown to be good for your mental health. It can also be a shock in a way that elevates your metabolic rate for the time to come after. For me, I do it mostly for my mental health, it's kind of like when first thing in the morning, you overcome something really challenging that you don't actually want to do, that makes you really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Everything else across the day just feels a little bit easier.
Yeah. It's like the make your bed every morning, that rule.
Which
right?
I do not do.
You're like, fuck making the bed. I'm just going to jump into ice.
Yeah.
I think about that all the time because people in my industry and like the productivity, like hustle culture stuff, there's very much this narrative, right, of making your bed.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck about making my bed. I don't care.
Yeah.
I understand the logic.
Yeah.
I don't actually talk about like morning routines and stuff like that very much because I do them because they help me feel a certain way. But I also feel it's a bit wanky to talk about. Like, like I can't have a good day unless I do these 7 things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I really do them because they make me feel a certain way. But I also think about our great grandparents who built this fucking country on kaya toast and sweetened burnt coffee. You know what I mean? Like they didn't need these morning routines. They just fucking got up and just went to work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, it's a bit of a battle in my mind about this stuff.
Interesting. I mean, I find it quite interesting because you are the co-founder of Ritual Gym, which is about rituals. But here we are talking about like, okay, I mean, to everyone, to each his own, right? About whatever your ritual is. You don't need to listen to some influencer or fitness person talking about it.
Yeah.
But yours is quite unique, this ice bath thing. And I mean, I drink water in the morning. That's my ritual that I overcome, the difficult thing I overcome. How about you? What do you do?
My box of vegetables. Like I cut fresh fruit and vegetables like carrot, celery, and into a box. And if I don't have it, I feel a bit uneasy.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
So in some way, that is my morning thing.
Yeah. And these rituals do help us find order in life and help us feel a certain way.
So have you always been someone like that where you have these things you do across the day that ultimately led to you founding a gym that you call Ritual? Or like what was the story behind that?
Actually, it started quite reluctantly. When I got into the industry, my first degree was in psychology and I worked in counseling for a little while, and I decided to go from there into fitness. And I remember this was like 15, 16 years ago, sitting on the curbside somewhere in Bukit Timah, smoking a cigarette with one of my best friends. Her name is Reizi. She was in law school at the time. And I realized that, oh no, I'm about to become like a fitness person. And I'm here like smoking a cigarette. Like we were hungover because of how much we were drinking the night before. I'm like, oh no, I have to change my life now. I have to like make all these changes. So I like reluctantly gave up that and stopped drinking and stopped drinking so much and started waking up early. And I guess one thing led to another because you start to feel the effects of the healthy habits. At that time, I had just finished competing in martial arts. I used to compete in Muay Thai. I wasn't very good. It took me a while and a lot of pain to realize I wasn't that good. And then I got into some weightlifting stuff. So I guess it was easy for me to lean into the healthier lifestyle because once I started to change the habits, then your performance goes up. And I just rode that for a while. But I was never like super fanatical about any of it. But I developed a discipline around it maybe like a year and a half, almost 2 years ago. Because I was dealing with my own issues across COVID. There's several things that happened. And I started to have some mental health issues, started to have some anxiety. It got quite bad. I ended up in the hospital for a couple of weeks. And to sort of build myself out of it, I took a look at my life and I was like, well, being in this industry and having studied this stuff, got my master's degree in the exercise stuff, and just like took a really sort of scientific approach to my understanding of it. Like I had all this knowledge, but I wasn't really applying it to my life. And I'm like, well, if I do a fair assessment, I'm not really doing as much as I could be doing to organize my life and my thoughts and my mental health. So I started getting a bit more disciplined. That's why I am now the type of person that has a morning routine. And I'm very protective of my sleep and all that stuff. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
And then the starting of the gym ritual?
Wow, that was almost 11 years ago now.
11 years ago. Because from what I understand, it's 30-minute in-out, high intensity. What is the other
High intensity interval training.
Interval training, HIIT. You go in, you don't need any equipment, any of your own clothing. You exercise, all exercise done barefoot. And it's targeted that 30 minutes you come in, bust your ass, and you move out, right?
Yeah, we give you clothes and all that. Yeah. We tried to build something that provides the ultimate convenience and the ultimate efficiency. Because the number one reason why people don't exercise is because they say they don't have time. They don't know how to fit it into their busy schedules.
Yeah.
So we wanted to build something where we run a session every half an hour. So it's small enough where you can probably fit it into your day at some point. We run a session every 30 minutes all day long. So literally, after this podcast, you had no intention of working out today, but you can show up exactly as you are, and you don't need to bring your gear, your shoes, or anything. We give you clothes, you can do your workout. And we wanted to create the experience where, you book a 5 p.m. session, but then your boss calls you into a last minute meeting. In 2 clicks, we want you to be able to cancel and rebook for the 5:30. No stress, right? Because this is what you see in office environments. Like you would know this from the past, right? Like everybody's like rushing out of the office at 6:30 because I need to make my yoga class. Bit of a silly thing, right? And before the ritual thing, I was running a personal training studio. We had a couple of outlets, and it was the traditional model of selling you 1 hour blocks. And this is a very interesting thing that happens if I'm your personal trainer. And we usually do Monday, 7 p.m. as our session. When you show up at 7 p.m., if let's just say you get called into a meeting at 6:30, you go, hey, bro, can we do 7:30? I go, sorry, I can't. I have another client at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
So then suddenly you can't train until Thursday, which is silly because you're just trying to get a workout in.
Yeah.
Half the time when you do make it to the 7 o'clock, say you got 2 kids at home and you got a deadline you're trying to meet, and let's say you're a bit hungover because you had a client dinner the night before and you only slept 5 hours, most of the time you're not really ready for a full 1 hour workout. The stimulus that you need to be a little bit healthier, I can squeeze into like 20, 30 minutes.
I see.
So then you can see how the genesis of this idea for ritual came, to make it efficient, make it convenient, and we want to build something where I guess we haven't been able to fully overcome this next part, but like if people start to value their time more and just look at it like, if what traditionally used to take you 1 hour, you can now do in half an hour, then you can take that 30 minutes, you get extra 30 minutes with your kid, extra 30 minutes with your wife at home, extra 30 minutes to whatever. That's valuable. Saving that time is worth paying for, in my opinion.
I see. Yeah. So, but you strike me as someone who it's not just about set up a gym, work out, make money, and all that. But there's a lot of thought in terms of the philosophy of what fitness is as part of your life. There's a lot of thought into like what's the data say about how long you need to reset your brain and get a good workout. Like, what do you think is different about your philosophy, your approach towards fitness compared to other people who in the fitness space?
I think across the last 10 years, services in boutique fitness, which is what we do, we run classes, personalized service, all that. The boutique services have gotten more intense, heavier, harder, longer. And the result of that is the fittest 1% of the world. The Fitspo people that you follow on Instagram, all super hot.
Yep.
We all know them. They have gotten so ridiculously fit, like unimaginably fit, completely out of reach fit. Very inspiring in kind of a dark way. The result of that is 90% of regular human beings look in on that and go, well, I'm never going to be that. That's crazy. You know this feeling, right? So then they go, okay, I guess these gyms aren't for me. So then as an industry, we're fighting for like quite a small group of people who think that I can be that. We built Ritual to cater to the 90% of people who feel like, well, I'm not going to be able to do that. We've always just wanted to reach out to them and say, hey, come to this place.
Yeah.
Really, really bite-sized workouts. We're going to try and help you build consistency. You're not going to get pressure to change your life because we understand you're busy. You got all these other obligations. That's fine. Do this 2-3 times per week. There's going to be positive knock-on effects to everything else in life. The reason why I think that's important from a public health standpoint, literally in every single developed country until today, obesity, type 2 diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular disease, loneliness, anxiety, depression continue to rise. So I look, it's a bit serious, but I look at my peers in the industry, other owner operators, other brands, and I go, as an industry, fitness, wellness, whatever you want to call it, as an industry that's supposed to be helping human beings live healthier, happier lives, are we doing our jobs? Are we winning or are we losing this game? In my opinion, we're not winning yet. So I guess like philosophically, that was what was underpinning it the whole time. That I actually want to make something that people find usable. It's something like between 60 and 70%, depending on the country, of people with gym memberships don't use their gym memberships. We have the right intention as fitness consumers. We know we need to exercise. Nobody needs to be convinced that they need to exercise. But the services tend to not match what people's needs actually are. But I don't think that's on the consumer. I think that's the industry's fault, right? Because I create these things that maybe can get you results. And like, how many of us know people who've gotten great results at some of these really intense programs? And then they yo-yo, right? Because they can't sustain it or they pick up injuries and it's not sustainable past a certain point. I feel like that's really damaging to the people who really actually need it. They just need something rational and sustainable in the long term. And that's, I guess, if I zoom out and think, how is it we've been able to do this 11 years and outlast all the trends and all that? It's because we played the longer game of helping people develop a deeper relationship with their physicality, a deeper understanding about the value of sustainable exercise and all that stuff.
But was that something that early on you already felt it? Or was it like you could articulate it to this level back then? Or was it along the way? Because 10 years ago, fitness was there, but I don't think it was as how you say, as glorified as it is now. Of course, with social media and all. But I know you guys started, quite a way back. Was your thought process back then the same? Like, there is this gap, the services are not matching it? Or is it, as you've seen other competitors, other trends come up, you realize, oh, what you have is quite special?
No, it was literally from the start, we were trying to solve this problem. We were the first boutique fitness gym in Singapore. We are still the first in the world, I think, to build a whole business around 30-minute workouts the way that we do. We don't offer anything else. We were the first to do that. First to run sessions every 30 minutes, make it super convenient for people, provide the clothes, all that stuff. We were the first in the world to do that.
Because before that, you kind of experienced the problems that you mentioned just now. As a personal trainer, people can't make it. Was that a big issue that you saw?
Yeah, it was a big issue. And also, like, we would be training people at 7 p.m. And they're like halfway through the workout and they've paid for the hour. They've paid for the hour. The appointment's for 1 hour. And you can just tell that if I keep pushing, they'll finish it. But they're going to be so tired that when they go home, they're like not present with their wife or not present with their kid or just a little bit too tired and they're going to have to pay for it the next day. I could tell it was broken. That's why I only did that business. I think 3.5 years I did that business before.
Starting ritual.
Before starting ritual.
And just you mentioned the term boutique. Like to the layperson like me, what differentiates a boutique gym versus a regular gym?
Yeah, the boutique gym thing is as opposed to like a big box gym. A big box gym is just like a big open space, and you got all the machines and you do your own thing. Yeah. Sometimes in those big box gyms, you can get a personal trainer, and those are basically the two services that you get. In boutique fitness, you try and take an experience, or you try and take a concept like a fitness class, and you create a whole experience around it. Yeah, so it becomes a much more personalized service. You walk in, people know who you are. It's a much smaller space. It's more intimate. You, if they're done well, there's enough effort gone into building a community there. Not just the coaches know you by name, but you do stuff that inspires you to connect with other members and live this healthy lifestyle. Typically, users in the boutique gym space, you get higher traction, I guess. So you're more likely to stick to your fitness habit because there's accountability built into the whole thing, and you kind of feel more special too. You pay a higher price.
Yeah.
But when you feel that you walk in and people know who you are, you feel like, okay, I got to show up for myself and for these people because they're rooting for me too.
Yeah. So again, another noob question, because I think I'm even less experienced than you in gyms, right? Isn't the concept of a boutique and a gym, the whole business model of a gym, getting more people in, to sustain the business and all, doesn't that because sometimes gyms can get a bad rep for they need to maximize members, and at the same time, but you're talking about boutique giving a more intimate experience for people. How does that balance with growing the size of your gym and being giving even more intimate experiences for your
I love
audience?
the question because there's obviously a business background here. I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
It's fundamentally a different model. In sort of the old sort of big box way of doing it, you kind of want to sell 6,000 memberships for a place that can house 600. Right? And then you have a really busy January and February, and then you never see those people again.
Yeah, the resolutions, right?
From a purely capitalist point of view, great business model, right? I think that was part of the genesis for boutique fitness stuff also. People who really want to have a lasting impact and actually inspire change. And the model in boutique fitness is much different. It's you attract some customers in and you try and keep them for a really long time by providing a really good service. So instead of this churn, you just want to play the retention game and keep people for a long time. So it's not just results, it's the community as well. And it's the other bits of value that you provide.
I mean, building on that question, one thing, even as we run our business, with Folklory and all, there's always a threat that, okay, if you don't capture the market, another competitor is going to come in and drown you out. So for you guys, have there been competitors that have come up, tried to do the 30-minute thing, like literally copy the model?
Not the 30-minute thing, but other boutique fitness gyms that provide different types of classes and stuff like that. That definitely has happened. We've outlasted a lot of them. I think there's a lot of room for coexisting. I think what we've found over the years is, after someone stays with us for 2-3 years and they get good results and all that, it's quite natural for people to be like, okay, like I have this level of fitness now. I feel sort of empowered about what my body can do. I feel connected to my physicality. Maybe I can go try something else out. And sometimes they do it like, I'm going to pick up rock climbing. And then instead of training at Ritual 4 times a week, they train like 2 or 3 times per week. And then the other days they go rock climbing, they go running, they go swimming, whatever, play tennis again. Sometimes people don't want to pay for 2 gym memberships and they go try something else. Because we've been doing this 11 years, we have like longer term data than that. And we see how many people end up coming full circle and coming back to us. And usually the feedback that we get, because I'm a bit obsessive about that stuff, so I like to talk to clients about it.
Yeah.
They get the itch of variety, so they go and try. And when they get there, it shook for a while. And then they realize that, but the quality of coaching that we get at Ritual and the safety of it, the sustainability of it, the convenience of it, they realize how important those things are once they go somewhere else. And, 6-12 months later, they come back. unfortunately, sometimes they leave and they go do these really intense things, sometimes get like really, really great results.
Yeah.
But then pick up injuries, right? And now they're like 42 with a busted knee and they got to go do physical therapy for 6 months and then, walk again, run again, and then come back to us. And there's a bit of this journey of you can try to educate people as much as you want about the real value that you provide when you have a high quality service, where you take it very seriously, safety standards and quality of coaching and all that stuff. But unfortunately, sometimes until people try what else is there and then they get hurt, and then they come back around and they realize, okay, this is real value. I actually think this is worth mentioning because when I first got into fitness, when I was doing the personal training stuff, the personal training stuff helped me sort of make ends meet, right? Because rent is expensive here, right? But what I was actually trying to get into was strength and conditioning, which is basically athletic preparation. And the people I was working with were pro level, semi-pro level fighters, MMA fighters, Muay Thai fighters, jiu-jitsu guys. And when you work with athletes, if let's just say you're a swimmer and you come and train with me and you do your exercise training with me, if you get hurt during your exercise part of your training, you're never going to work with me again. I lose my job. Your whole team will never work with me because you got hurt in exercise. That's how seriously it is taken at that level when you work with athletes. But for some reason, that sense of responsibility never transferred over to commercial fitness because no need, right?
Yeah.
And so it became a very capitalist game of how many people can I squeeze into this room? And sometimes over the years, to our detriment, I was very, very, I drew a very, very hard line on that stuff. Like, we're not going to go above a certain number of people in a session. And I don't care if you got 20 years of experience as a trainer. When you come into our system, we've got a 4-week training program. 3/4 of it is online based, but we have tests, theoretical tests, and we have practical tests. And if you don't make it, you don't make it.
Yeah.
You can't stay on with us in the long term. And I think, obviously, when you think about it from a business angle, I've created a bottleneck for the business, right? Because it's more difficult to get people ready to take on a job when you open a new outlet or whatever. But I think 11 years in, I can say it's been worth it because we're able to provide a certain level of quality that most places just can't. There's actually a bit of it's known in the industry when new players come to town, they steal our coaches. I was just talking to some of our staff about it. It's a known thing because of how well trained our people are. They try not to touch people at our management layer and above because at that level of experience, they understand they'd rather be on the side of the people pushing the industry forward than to, go help build the next thing using the skill set. So they tend to try and poach the people who've been with us for like a year or two and then just offer them big positions now. Yeah.
So like, I mean, one thing over the years, there has been trend after trend of fitness, right? Do you think that these trends evolve like very organically, or you think it's reaching a level where people are just looking for ways to package new and sexy stuff?
I think a bit of both. I think the new and sexy thing it is one option to try and make fitness stuff, try and make it a complete distraction. And I don't necessarily think that's not a jab at people that do that stuff, because for me, getting people moving is a good idea. And if you get that through dance, through spin, through ritual, through yoga, I like power to you. Like, just do anything that gets you moving more. But I think it's made my life harder in the last 15 years. But I really want to help people develop a deeper appreciation, a deeper relationship with their bodies. I feel like if we can do that, people can not to sound too cheesy, but people can deepen their why of why they should exercise. And I think we've completely lost touch with that, right? Because we're completely obsessed with convenience and luxuries and how comfortable I can be. I think that's great. It's the best thing about modern society. But we've completely lost touch with the value of being able-bodied and the impact that that has on our minds. And to a certain extent, the impact that the movement has on your mind is not even something we have control of. In a sense that, evolutionarily speaking, there's a reason why we function our best and feel our best when we move more. If you just think a few generations ago, we were hunter-gatherers and we needed to work for our food. So never mind the science, you just think about a natural system. You would want to reward the human being for persisting in that physical activity to attain the food because that perpetuates the species.
Yep.
So it makes sense that when we move a lot and we accomplish physical things, we get washed all across our brains and bodies with these neurochemicals that make us feel great. And it's not just the pursuit and then the accomplishment, it's also the community, right? Like there's room for us to understand if in like a group setting with exercise, we mimic the accomplishments of I've made the kill or I've collected the sweet potatoes, and we bring it back to our community and we share. And we get the dopamine, the serotonin, the oxytocin that helps us feel like closer as people.
Yeah.
Like the whole cycle from deciding to do the difficult thing to finishing it, to celebrating it with your community is so special in a way that people don't understand until they experience it. And then once you start experiencing it, people talk about it like an addiction. But it's just us leaning into our biology, in my opinion.
So are you saying that you would want people to exercise for the sake of, feeling that connection to the environment and their own bodies, as opposed to for all the distractions that, say you go to a spin class and then it's like, and then posing for selfies and then taking, wearing the latest Adidas clothes and all that.
Yeah.
That's all distractions from the actual exercise.
On my bad days, where I'm not being a very productive member of society, I do feel like that.
Oh, okay.
But I don't feel that that's the right way to think about it.
Okay.
I think it's important that people find ways to move. And I know a lot of people that love those types of classes, and I feel very, very happy for them that they've found that. And I think people should keep doing the stuff that they like. They shouldn't listen to my opinion of where they should take their relationship with it. I'm just happy that they're moving. I guess what I'm saying is maybe people would like to know that they have the option of elevating their relationship with their body even further. I have been giving some talks lately on topics like burnout and healthspan. And so I recently kind of got back into the data of all that stuff. And it brings to mind this one study where they took active people and they made them walk less than 5,000 steps per day for a week. So it made them move much less than they wanted to. After just 1 week of moving less than they wanted to, they got a 31.2% drop in life satisfaction. From a different angle, a different study, they took active people again, and they increased sedentary time by 30 minutes. So made them sit down 30 minutes longer than they wanted to. So limited activity again for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Over 50% spike in anxiety and anger. And almost a 70% spike in fatigue and exhaustion. And I guess for me, it's important that people think about what is the baseline they might be operating at if they haven't exercised in any real way in months or years. No judgment, because I totally get it. Like you get it too. Like when you have a kid, very difficult. And all I want to do is do the work that I love and then hang out with my family because it's so awesome to have that, right? So I get it. but we can actually be better versions of ourselves for all the people around us and the people we love if we do some of this stuff. And I'm not talking about like, doing crazy workouts. Don't even come to ritual. It's not about that. It's like go for a walk. The recommendations for when exercise can start to have an impact on your mental health are literally just do something. And if you can, do something like 3 times per week for like 30 minutes. Like go for a walk, go out in nature, do some push-ups, do some squats. That's when you get the biggest impact. When you go from doing nothing to doing something.
But was there a converse study where it took sedentary people and made them walk 5,000 steps a day and see at the end of the week were they like, oh, fuck, I hate this shit? Was there, because I mean, ultimately what you describe is you're changing someone's routine to do something else. Was there anything? I mean, I totally agree. I can imagine that, but I know at times when I stopped exercising in the past, getting started was like, I really don't want to, and then I start feeling like pissed off and like, So just wondering whether there was any converse study.
Do you remember what you felt like after the first workout?
I mean, it's good lah.
That's the thing. There's another study I was just looking at. This is fresh in my mind because I just gave a talk on this. They took people, this study was looking specifically at workplace burnout. And they were trying to figure out what type of exercise helps people feel less burnt out. And what they found was if you do, what was it? It was 30 minutes of exercise, low intensity, high intensity, doesn't matter. Just 30 minutes of movement, 3 times per week. You're going to get a significant impact on how you experience burnout in a positive way. After 4 weeks of this pattern of 3 times per week, 30-minute workouts, so 12 30-minute workouts. You got almost a 40% increase in feelings of positive well-being. And a bit more than a 40% decrease in feelings of psychological distress. So they're about 40% less stressed out after 4 weeks of exercise. So I guess, and this is not crazy exercise, you know? This is like some people were just going for a walk or like a bit of a jog. 30 minutes, 3 times per week, not even very intense.
But then, so, I mean, you have looked at all this data of how fitness is important for people. Do you see certain unique, traits about Singaporeans or our habits and all that affect our approach to fitness? Like, for example, one thing I always say is like, if you want to eat healthy in Singapore, it's difficult to eat healthily at hawker centers and then eat cheaply, right? To eat healthy. I mean, that's what I've heard a lot and I myself have experienced. But in terms of fitness, do you think there's anything special habits or anything unique about Singaporeans that then whether make it harder or make our approach to fitness different from other places?
Yeah, I think a couple of things come to mind. One, we're very hardworking. We know how to suffer.
We know how to suffer.
But we're also very tired. We're very exhausted. And the number of clients I've spoken to over the years who beat themselves up psychologically because they say, I don't know why I'm so fucking lazy. I know I need to exercise. And I'll sit with them and I'll go, well, let's talk about life. Let's talk about what goes on in your life. And they tell me like, I got this crazy job, 12 hours a day. I got client dinners a couple times per week, and I sleep 4 or 5 hours, and I have to go drinking when I don't want to. I like to spend Fridays with my friends. I have a sick parent at home, taking care of them, taking them to the doctor, this and that. Got 2 kids at home. Just more and more stuff. And I go, well, if at the end of the day, at 8 p.m., when you haven't had dinner yet, and you woke up this morning hungover and you only slept 4 hours, is it fair to look at yourself and say, you lazy piece of shit, can't get yourself to the gym, fucking exhausted for real reasons? I think that ends up shooting people in the foot because they have these expectations of themselves of, I know how to suffer, I can suffer, I can power through this, I'm strong. Because that's what we have to be, because you grow up thinking that Singapore's got no natural resources, so it's on us. right? It's about the people and what you can do. You
Our
got to
biggest
work.
resource.
Yeah,
People,
you got to work
people.
hard. You have to work hard. That's how we get raised.
Yeah.
And it ends up biting us. And it ends up being quite insidious because if people took a step back and they just realized you don't need to pressure yourself to have an overhaul of your whole life. You don't need to pressure yourself to have a ridiculous workout tonight where you lift weights and then go for a run and then whatever. Just do something. And if it can help people just calm down a notch and go and become okay with just doing something today, I would feel like that's such a win. If people understood that the real magic in exercise comes when we can do it indefinitely. Like real magic can happen when we can do it indefinitely.
Like when you say magic, you mean like mental health wise and everything. Like.
Well, the mental health is one thing, but there's something called healthspan as well, and it's like added nuance to longevity. Healthspan is sort of like instead of just adding years to your life, can you add life to your years? It's not my line, someone else's line. But I thought it was encapsulated.
I was like, wow,
well.
Ian, that ice bath.
This one,
you up with
this
like
one,
quotes.
not mine.
So I do totally believe it because I mean I used to suffer from I still suffer from sleep apnea, and for the longest time in my life I never bothered to get it checked out and everything. But the moment I actually got like proper checkup and the sleep machine and everything, it's like suddenly I woke up and like, wow, I've been living in a cloud for like most of my adult life, not realizing that how much of life I wasn't experiencing just because my sleep wasn't great, And it's I think it's one of those things when like when you're talking about health and exercise and fitness, all that, people don't realize like your body also has this shelf life, and if you're not maximizing or just using it to its full capacity, it definitely has effects on your brain and your mental well-being as well.
It's something like a 4-fold higher chance of experiencing burnout if you have disordered sleep.
Yeah.
Disordered sleep.
So you're just not sleeping well at night. If you have insomnia, at the most extreme case of not able to sleep, you have a 2x higher chance of developing depression. 2 times higher risk.
So in your, like this past 10 years or past few years, do you see like it getting harder to convince Singaporeans to exercise more, or do you think that everyone is trending towards healthier living? Because the one thing that is on everybody's mind, cost of living is increasing, more stress, more this. And I mean, even now, I don't have a child yet, but when I talk about this with my wife, I'm thinking, oh, if we have a kid in future, when we have a kid, it's going to be a lot and something has to give. So do you find that people are trending towards healthy, or it's more polarized? Like the healthier are getting healthier, the not healthy are getting more unhealthy?
I think the cohort of people that I look at is a bit biased, but from my view, people are starting to turn on to fitness much more because they're starting to realize it's not just about how hot I look, how good I look in the mirror.
Yeah.
They're starting to realize how when I'm going through struggle, this can help me feel like I can get through. And there's very, 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 very interesting research on that too. That, okay, in all kinds of stressful situations, it's been shown that people who exercise are better at tolerating stress. So when it comes to things like burnout or feeling overloaded in life, too stressed out, people are starting to realize, not through data, but through action, that if I do something, I can effectively shift the goalposts of when and where and how I feel stress and burnout. And the data supports that. There's actually a really interesting study, might as well talk about. There is something called a TRIA social stress test, something like that. It's a 15-minute test, and it's fascinating. They bring people in, and a participant walks into this room, and there are 3 judges in front of them. And the first 5 minutes, the judges, by the way, they're trained to show no expression. First 5 minutes, they get told, okay, you need to craft a presentation. And it's usually about some sort of a job interview. And 5 minutes, they're writing on a piece of paper, trying to figure out whatever the hell they're going to present on. When that 5 minutes is over, they take away the paper, they take away the pen, and they go, okay, now talk. And then the participant goes like, oh, okay, starts doing his presentation. And again, the judges are told to show no expression. They're trained to show no expression. And can you imagine how awkward that feels? They're talking. End of that 5 minutes, no feedback on what you just did at all. Then they ask you to start counting backwards from 1022 in steps of 13.
10, oh shit, that's weird.
Okay.
And every time you get it wrong, they ask you to start back from the top. Same, no expression. What they're trying to do with that stress test is mimic social stress. Now remember, we're talking about exercise here. What the hell does that have to do with exercise? Actually, guess, right? In this study, they were looking at frequent exercises versus infrequent exercises. How do you think they responded differently after this 15 minutes?
Those who exercised could handle the stress better?
2 times better.
2 times, wow.
There's something called positive affect, which is basically your ability to get through life with a positive mood, get through challenges with some positivity.
Yeah.
People who don't exercise got double the drop in positive affect.
And that study was done, like you said, recently.
Many times. The TRIA social stress test. You can look it up. I can send you the studies too. It's
Maybe
ridiculous.
we should do that to potential guests in future. For
but actually, I was thinking it would be very fun. Very fun to run that.
Just do that.
Stress them out.
Yeah, we just sit, me, you, Tristan, sit outside, and then we just tell them, okay, tell us what you're going to talk about on the podcast, and then take away, and then just see what happens.
Yeah. But, it sounds abstract when you think about it in terms of a study, but it makes sense, right? Like if you can build stress tolerance, you can build resilience to stress if you do difficult things.
Yeah.
Like, don't you find in life when you meet people who've really been through some shit, they just have like calm in the storm energy. They just know how to get through to the other side when there's chaos going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not a foreign concept. It's just that people don't associate exercise and difficult exercise with stuff like that.
And that kind of, it's almost like something that I've realized as well for anyone who's running their own business as well. There's a certain level of uncertainty and risk that you live with every day that anyone who's not running their own business or a salary job, they don't understand. And when you tell them that, there's this risk or this whatever problems they're going through, they're like, oh my God, I can't believe you deal with that. But to me, it's like, it's just day-to-day part of the job.
Yeah.
Do you sense that having run your own business and your own businesses for so long, you also have this muscle that you've also trained to just be sort of like get through the storm whenever, especially business crises and all that?
Yeah, it took a while. Okay. It took a while. I think for the first few years of doing it, I was quite young also, and the business got traction very quickly, and we started getting attention in quite a big way quite quickly. So I was playing this catch-up game and trying to grow into the leader that I needed to be. But yeah, it took me a few years to develop that skill of being calm in the storm. But yeah, so important. And I totally see as well what you're saying with my other friends who are running businesses or started businesses. There is a certain amount of that you need just to get through it. It's a bit crazy. And actually, I know I spent the first few years of the whole experience playing a bit of like victim mindset of like, why is my life so hard? Why does everybody expect so much of me and all that? And then it takes some maturity to grow out of that and realize, well, nobody forced me to start this business, right? Like, I was the one who had the stupid idea, right?
Yeah.
So then it took me a while to learn to sort of rise to the occasion in that sense and take full responsibility for it. And you have to be okay, right? With like, if people don't want to work as hard on it as you do, and people don't have the same amount of passion and drive on it as you do, makes sense that they don't, right? Because they didn't start it. And it it also is not fair to expect other people to understand it.
Mm.
And I think while that thought is important, there's real risk of it being quite a lonely journey for people that start and run their own businesses, especially through crisis.
It is. It is. I mean, and you're in the space of coaching people, right? But there's no coach for people running their own business or facing their own, like, you know, cash flow issues in the company. There's no coach for that kind of thing, right?
I mean, but expensive.
Expensive, and then that kind of defeats the purpose of like,
because your business is so people facing. I'm sure there were days where you just inside you felt like, oh fuck, but you still have to face your customers. You still have to put on this like positive, and you have to make them feel don't like unload onto them, right?
Yeah. And people have expectations of, and not just the customers, but the staff as well. And people have expectations of how you should be and the energy that they hope to get from you. And the truth is, as you guys know too, if you don't bring the right energy, you end up damaging the whole thing, and then it's your fault. Like, everybody benefits from you bringing the right energy.
Yeah.
But it's a tall task in hard times to be consistent with that energy.
Yeah.
Because
very difficult.
Do you find, like, you know, running a gym, and I mean, just looking at the whole wellness space, there's to me, like, I mean, if you look at a business that, say, makes burgers or something, it is a product, and how you kind of live your life, as long as you can deliver burgers, that's your product. But being in fitness, do you also feel a huge way, like what you said, you know, people expect you to work out? Is that a bigger issue in wellness, where there's a lot of, you know, coaching on like how to be fitter mentally, physically, but there's a disconnect between how the companies and the people actually run themselves?
Yeah, I've thought about this a lot in the last couple of years, because a few things happened across COVID that really stressed me out. Someone close to me in my family got diagnosed with late-ish stage cancer towards the start of COVID. I had my first kid at the start of COVID as well. And fitness business, we had outlets all over the world, all suddenly got shut down. And this business that was just starting to like really find its feet and about to start sprinting suddenly was falling apart. And then my grandma passed away, which was not a surprise. She was 94, but it was a stressor. And with all of that going on, I wasn't really taking care of myself. And I definitely am the guy in my groups of friends or in the family that people lean on when they need to talk about something, when they're going through something. And it was a very heavy load for me already, but I felt a need to play that role also for everybody around me to listen.
Yeah.
And it was like, even though all that was going on, it was very surprising that for me, when I ended up in the hospital for a couple of weeks, because at my grandma's wake, I started getting these headaches. And at first, honestly, when it first happened, I was like, quite fun, a bit like dizzy. Kind of feels like I'm half drunk. I was
like really bad, like,
yeah, but I was like, just kind of floating. Man. And I didn't really pay attention to it. This was in October of 2021. By the time I got to January of 2022, so just a year and a half ago or so, it was so bad that I couldn't stay vertical, like upright, seated or standing for more than a minute or two. Felt like my head was going to explode.
Oh man!
And that's why they ended up putting me in the hospital, because they couldn't figure it out. I was convinced that there was something wrong with my brain, like bleeding or something. I was convinced that I had broken my brain. And they kept me in there for 2 weeks, did every scan possible, and they did so well. The neurology team at NUH, they did so well. They really took care of me, and they investigated so deeply, and they were also very supportive emotionally. They sat me down at the end of it and said, look, we've run every scan that we can, and the truth is, physically and structurally, there's nothing wrong with your brain, and this is great news. So what you have is something called vestibular migraine. You have a very serious case of it. And they, listed out the list of common triggers, top one being stress. And we started talking about what are you stressed out about. And as I went through this discovery process with them, I was on like 15 pills a day, right? And just to calm me down, because at the worst of it, I couldn't even get to the bathroom by myself, right? So I was so heavily medicated. But once I started being able to talk about it, I told them, actually, from months ago, I kept getting these episodes of like tingling up my spine and then up my neck, and then it shot straight into a migraine, and then short of breath, walls closing in, all that stuff. That's why I was convinced that there was something wrong with my brain. What we found out over the next couple of meetings was that I was having panic attacks, and I was having a panic attack like every 3 days.
Oh man!
It was weird, right? Because psychology background, wellness background, so you think you understand these signs, and I'm married to a psychologist, right? So I definitely took pride in being the type of person who could handle a lot of stress.
Yeah.
But obviously I was pretty shit at dealing with it, right? And then I got out of the hospital and started on this process of my recovery, slowly titrated off the 15 pills a day and all that stuff. But yeah, it was a process. So it's a really long answer to your question about, wellness and fitness and the expectations. I had the expectations of myself to be a certain way. But I was doing a piss poor job at it, really. And I started to take it much more seriously for myself after that. And yeah.
In some ways, going back to what you said earlier, is it also, we say about Singaporeans not having enough compassion for ourselves, right? Like beating ourselves up for the stresses in life and things like that. Do you think your experience also kind of like made you realize, hey, that's happening to me as well? That I wasn't having enough compassion for myself and giving myself enough time and space and all.
Definitely. I also am remarkably bad at asking for help. And I think there was the turning point for me was, there was, at the worst of it when I was in hospital, there was a few days where I couldn't help myself to go to the bathroom. And on the worst day, I could see the colors on my phone, but I couldn't read the text message that had come in from my wife. And she was trying to text me to console me, basically, for having missed my daughter's birthday while I was in the hospital. But I couldn't read it. And at the same time, I was very aware that I had this amazing team of neurologists at UH who was like, you could tell they were trying so hard, and like they really, really, really cared, because they were, I don't know if they were worried or what, but like they were really trying to figure it out, and they couldn't figure it out. And I realized in a moment there that, wow, I have one of the best medical teams in the world, and so much love on this side. And because I didn't take a personal responsibility in taking care of myself, I found myself in this position completely stuck and unable to receive love and unable to receive care. That was the moment where I realized I have to take this seriously, and I have to make changes, and I have to also hopefully share my experience and help people understand that there's a very, very deep reason, a very, very deep value to prioritizing your own self-care. And I really thought I was doing fine. I really thought that I was doing the right things because I was exercising and all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
But there's so much that we can do, and if we don't take it on ourselves to take care of ourselves, then we end up messing up quite a lot because we're not able to function in all the areas of life that where we should be able to contribute. And I guess over time I realized it's not even a lot of stuff. We're talking about a few habits a day.
Yeah.
can make an outsized difference. And learning to communicate and talk about your problems. Learning to share and learning to put some discipline around sleep. Learning to set aside time for meditation. I do Qigong every morning. I do breath work, do the ice bath stuff. It really makes a difference.
Yeah.
It really makes a difference.
So do you think it's also, I mean, because this is my own experience, like when I needed help and going to find therapy and all, there's generally as a guy even, it was harder for me to find options of, therapists that would talk to me about the things I was going through and all. And a lot of times it was more focused on, or as a couple, you and your wife, or even just for your wife and all that. So there's just not just only the stigma that society places on men to, be the strong person of the family, like the person to lean on. But institutionally, sometimes it's just not. It's just even when you're trying to find it or look for it, it's not always there. Do you find that was something that also maybe contributed to your experience?
I think it contributes. That's a contributing factor to a lot of men's experiences, but not mine personally. Because the first time I did therapy was when I was studying psychology, because I just got very, very interested in it.
Yeah,
and I guess being married to psychologists as well, like we talk about this stuff a lot. So it's not taboo to me, but I know it's taboo to a lot of people. But it's good that it's becoming less and less taboo, especially since COVID, because people are starting to realize the value of it.
Yeah.
I think, that's the part that I didn't mention. When I came out of the hospital, I started doing very intensive therapy, and I was lucky enough to find a therapist I could really get along with. But also, my wife introduced me to her, because she is in the industry and she knows other therapists. So she had an instinct about who to sort of match me with. And it was so important, because there's so many issues with how I was processing the suffering around me and processing all the pain, or rather I was avoiding processing all the pain. And it was so impactful. Did you feel the same with therapy?
Yes. I mean, I didn't do a lot of sessions, but even those few sessions I did, there's just something that the experience of it just opens your mind to look at your own experience in a different way and all, and gives you this different perspective. So I was like, it's quite crazy that even my generation, growing up, there was this stigma against seeking help, or for the guy to go, like, guys don't need this, you just need to go and go watch football or something. I really felt like, wow, this is a very big aspect of wellness and health that I never even knew about growing up. And now, in my adulthood and having a kid and all, you want to make sure that when your kid's looking at you in the eye, it's you that's there, You're there entirely. You're not like stuck in some other world because of the issues that you don't want to talk about. So that's why, to me, that I felt like, okay, there's this responsibility I feel now that I need to take care of, like whether it's mental health or physical health. I think that's very, very important. Yeah.
Totally agree. Agree. I think most people can benefit from doing some therapy, and you don't need to do it consistently all the time, but with a certain set of tools that we all have as adults of how to deal with stressors or difficult situations, and you try, and if you can't seem to help yourself or fix the issue or deal with it better after trying for a while, why not just reach out to someone who specializes in helping people get through that stuff, and then you see them for a couple of months, a few sessions, you pick up these tools, and then they end up being able to serve you for like the rest of life. And then you can stop and go back to life. And then next time you run into an issue, apply all the tools and now you got a bigger tool set. And if you run into issues again, go see a therapist again, and I think we should get comfortable doing that. And I think there's that. But across COVID, I also realized, even though we're such a collectivist society, being Asian and all that exists in our family sort of structures, right? And I really understand the value of that now, having gone through this crisis and so many things happening. Having like a really solid home environment not just with my immediate family, but my parents and my brother and their kids and my in-laws and my wife's brother and their kids, like and my cousins and all that, like real deep like family stuff. Like that's really important. But in our professional lives and the way we go to school and then what happens when we start working, it's very individualistic. It's very cutthroat. And it's very like almost like I not quite I have to step on other people to get a leg up, but it's you got to watch out for yourself. You got to take care of yourself. And I think that can be quite damaging in the long run too, because I mean, we have a loneliness epidemic now too, right? And I think it's more prevalent with guys. And, you know, you mentioned football just now, and this is what guys tend to do when they come together.
Yeah.
You watch football, you drink beers, and then suddenly, 9 beers in, one of your friends tries to fight another friend. And then you're like, oh, bro, what's going on, bro? And then they're like slurring and they go, oh, my wife, they're gonna lose my job. And then all of this starts
We've all seen that.
We've all seen that.
I've been that person before also.
Me too. But we have to get into those altered states before we can talk about it. And I think this is an issue. And I think generally, like, okay, if my wife is upset at me for not being there for her to talk about something, she can be mad at me, but she has like 6 other people that she can reach out to go talk about that too.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys don't. And I think it's worth figuring out how to break down those walls. I think community is a very difficult thing to think about because for a long time we got community from the kampong vibe, social cohesion. We got community from religious institutions, but less and less people go to temple or to mosque or to church, so you don't get it there. Where are we going to get it? You know, I think people need to put some intention behind developing those connections and those communities for themselves, and do the uncomfortable stuff of having vulnerable conversations, talking about how you feel. But much easier said than done, right? Like, don't you find like past a certain age and enough suffering, and then you have kids and all that, like, oh, okay, now I understand the value of this. But it takes us so long.
Very long,
It takes us so long.
Yeah.
But don't you know, earlier you mentioned that there's one benefit to building up your ability to take stress, which is kind of like a muscle in and of itself, right? So then how do you draw the line between, I mean, muscles and stress only grow when there's resistance, right? So how do you draw the line between like, okay, knowing when to kind of seek help and versus like holding it in, or maybe everything that comes up, seek help. Everything that comes up, seek help. Do you see that as the darker side of prioritizing, you know, getting help for this sort of stuff? Like it reduces the need to build up your own resilience.
Yeah, I think they go hand in hand. I don't think it's either or. I don't think it's linear either. I think it's important that people realize they have agency. To a certain extent, we are in control. There's stuff that we can do to increase our resilience to stress. I view something like therapy as one of those tools as well. You're learning to manage better. And so I think they go hand in hand, more so than like opposing things. I think what you're alluding to is something I think about though, like almost like, I'm going through this stuff. Can I make it your problem? Right? Kinda. So I think it has to be viewed as a personal responsibility to solve it and or to get yourself to a place where you feel better about it. But leaning on experts to help you with that, it's kind of like if you go to a doctor when you're sick because you tried the herbal tea and this and that and you're still not better, then you go to the doctor. It's kind of the same, right?
It's kind of like when you say seeking help, I like the way you're saying that you're arming yourself with the tools.
Yeah.
It's like you go to you can go and exercise on your own. You can go and do it yourself, go run in the fields or something. But you get a personal trainer who guides you and tells you, hey, maybe you try this, try that, and there's a better way to do it. And then you can still go back and run on the fields and do it how you want.
With a bit more knowledge.
With the knowledge. So I think that's the thing about seeking help, whether therapy or mental health, is that a lot of times, like from my experience, I didn't need to keep going, the therapist, but just a few experiences, and I felt, okay, it helped me see things from a different perspective. That's a perspective that I never thought of, in spite of everything I was reading and all, And then it gave me this tool that, okay, if I ever encounter something like that again, there's a way to work around it. There's a way to navigate my relationship with my wife, or to talk to someone about it, being vulnerable without feeling like I'm being a victim and everything. So it's those tools that I think we miss out on when we say that, we should just deal with the problems yourself and not seek help.
Because even when cooking, right, I will watch a video on how to make carbonara.
Yeah.
And then
you know how to do it already. You know how to do it. You know everything.
Yeah.
But
I had to watch a video to do it.
Yeah.
Like I could read it. I could be like, okay, you need guanciale, you need this. But I still watch the video to understand. And then I'm like, oh, now I can do it. And it can translate over to other pastas, for example. But speaking about things that you think about or stuff that, I've been thinking about lately, because there's one thing about there's movement towards exercise to the level of detail that the layperson, if you want to find out what exercise is good for you, you can find so much online. But then when I look at my extended family, right, there are people who are in their 80s, there are people who are in their 90s. Granted, okay, they might not be in the best of health, but the older I get, the more I think, like, if you can make it to 60 plus, right, that's an achievement already, because you see people just dying at any age. Then I think, okay, there was this generation where exercise was never part of their life. Do we have, a lot of the exercise that we're doing now, a lot of food we are eating, there's no generation before that where, they can tell the effects 50 years later. So sometimes I think like, should we be exercising this much? Are we just wearing our joints out? I look at my uncle, he's like 85, never exercised before, but now he's still walking.
Or like Trump.
Yeah, and I think Trump had this one philosophy where your energy level is a battery. The more you exercise, the faster you use it up. Then sometimes I think about it, I'm like, does he have a point? Because, like now, Singapore is aging. You're seeing older people everywhere. And sometimes you look at older people, you're like, oh shit, you're 76. Oh shit, you're 81. I'm guessing you never did like a squat before in your life, with like weights. So
I find it ridiculous some days that what I do for a job is create spaces where it's socially acceptable to physically exert yourself. Because that's how much we've, how do you say, diluted or sanitized our outside world.
Yeah.
Because we're not allowed to go, it's weird if you're out there running around on the street on Orchard Road doing crazy stuff.
Or like walking just crazy distance, walking 20 minutes to your location or something.
Yeah, it's because we've sort of whitewashed everything that happens outside, and then we've added all these conveniences. And I used to think a lot about my grandmother who used to live with us. And she, I think at that time she was in her 70s. She wasn't living with us like full time, but she would come and visit, and she would walk like a kilometer to the wet market and then walk back. And when she would get back, she would be sweating with her bags of stuff. That's why they didn't need to exercise. It was just part of life. She never ever would have made a comment about, oh, so tired, oh, so sweaty. It was just life. And there is data on that. The walking thing and getting older, there was a pretty large scale data on people with an average age of about 55, 56. And they followed these people for a 10-year period. And they followed how many of them died. And they broke them up into 4 groups. The first group was people who walked less than 4,000 steps a day. And at the other end of the spectrum, group 4 was people who walked 12,000 or more steps per day. Like, so super active versus really not active. In the group that walked less than 4,000 steps a day, 64% of them died within the 10-year period. At the other end of the spectrum, the people who walk 12,000 steps or more per day, 9% died in that 10-year period. That's a 7-fold difference. This is observational data, so you can't say that walking equals living longer. But you can probably infer with some confidence that living an active lifestyle has an effect on how long you live.
Actually, I mean, yeah, that is yeah, I mean, when you phrase it like that, it does make sense. Because right now, my mom lives with me and my wife. And for the longest time, we've told, okay, mom, just don't do any housework. You just here, you relax. And I think there were a couple of times she said, if I don't do housework, if I don't move my arms, I'm going to lose it. And then slowly, I start seeing the benefit. And even now, as much as we order groceries online, once in a while, she'll go to Sheng Siong and like buy fruits and come back. And she carries it in 2 plastic bags. You know, like, Mom, why are you carrying the apple? She's like, no, it keeps me strong. Then on the flip side, my wife goes to like some training and she says, oh, I did a farmer's walk today. I carried 2 kettlebells.
Same thing.
Then I'm like, oh shit, my mom was doing the farmer's walk back from Sheng Siong. You know, like you carry these 2 weights, she's training her core and she comes back sweating and like what you said, it's the equivalent of a workout.
Yeah.
And then it has made me more open to, okay, my mom, she kind of needs to do this because it's what kind of like she's been doing for years, and if you take that away from her, then her identity also, she's like a home, a mother in every sense of the word. And then I realized, oh, actually it gives her joy. It gets us fruits. Yeah, so why not? And I think that is something that, yeah, if I look back at all my older relatives, they had jobs where they were on their feet a lot, they were walking a lot. Okay, that is interesting.
And the data backs that up, by the way. If you don't use it, you lose it. It's something like after the age of 30, you lose like 3 to 8% of your muscle mass every decade. And then past the age of 50, it's like 1 or 2% per year, just on average. But if you use your body and you stay active, you can really drastically slow that decline.
Yeah.
There's a bit of research from a Brazilian group a few years ago that investigated something like really trivial, but actually very important. Your ability to get up off the ground with ease.
Or the from sitting to
from I think it's down on the ground all the way up. And they had a rating system for people that it was very easy for and people that it was very difficult for. And I think it was they had like 10 levels to it. And when you compare the people who had the hardest time versus the easiest time, and these were people between age like 50 something to 80 something, right? So people who were older. The people who had a harder time, the hardest time getting up off the ground, had like a 5 or 6-fold higher likelihood of dying than the people who had an easy time getting up off the ground. That's how important staying active is. And that's how important it is to recognize that if you don't use it, you lose it.
So now, like when your family, anybody wants to order food, do you tell them, guys, our ancestors were hunter-gatherers. Let us walk 3 kilometers to get the mee goreng and the fried rice and come back and, sit down and enjoy the meal as a community.
While sweating already.
I really do think we have an issue with living rugged lives. I think we need to get much better at doing that. We need to become much better at suffering sometimes. Still enjoy your aircon, still enjoy the sofa and watching Netflix and all that. But just do some suffering every day, just a bit. It's going to go a long way. I think another important thing that people should realize is the people that get the greatest effect in terms of health span, longevity, whatever you want to call it, are the people that go from really not good to not bad. So there's something called VO2 max, which is a technical thing. It's a measure of cardiorespiratory fitness, which is a fancy way of saying heart, cardio, respiratory, lungs. It's a measure, it's a metric of your heart and lung health. It is, as far as health metrics go, it is the one most closely associated with how long you'll live. When they look at like large scale studies, like over 100,000 people, when you look at people in the bottom 25% versus people in the top 2.5%. The risk of dying in a 10-year period is like 5-fold higher at the bottom 25%. 5-fold higher. But when you go from the bottom 25% to the next rung up, so 25 to 49%, still like below average, you get a 50% reduction in mortality in the next 10 years. Meaning you're like half as likely to die in the next 10 years if you just go from low fitness to okay fitness. That's why I feel like it's really important for people to understand it's not about getting the crazy workout in. It's not about like changing everything. It's literally like you do something, like double the likelihood of having good outcomes.
I see. So all these studies and all, is it stuff that is public that you can share that we can also put in an episode?
Yeah, I can send you all these links.
Yeah. And I mean, do you talk a lot about this stuff? Like where would like our listeners go to find you and hear more about this sort of stuff?
Yeah, I've been giving some talks about this lately because people are very much more interested in this stuff and the mental health stuff and how exercise and your daily habits can impact your mental health and your health span. So I've recently just started doing that again. I am considering starting a podcast where I talk about some of these things. Inside the gyms, when I talk to clients, this is the type of stuff that I like to try and get out there. I'm not so good on social media, but I've been trying to be more consistent on LinkedIn to get these messages out there because I feel like it's important. And like, if people have the time to just stop and think about it for a couple minutes, we got enough options here that we can kind of latch on to deepen the reasons why we do these things, right? Because sometimes it sounds very trite to people when I say things like just get off the train 1 or 2 stops earlier and then finish walking the rest of the way. Like, if you don't want to do 10,000 steps, that's fine. Just get to like 6,000. And you don't have to do it all in one shot. Just do it across the day, right? Just choose to have lunch somewhere a bit further away. And have an accountability buddy at work who you say, hey, want to try this out for a month? We just try and hit 6,000-7,000 steps, pick a number. And then now it becomes a fun thing, right? And I've done some of this stuff with like corporate wellness projects because that's the other thing that we do. We call it ritual wellness, where we go into offices and help them develop a wellness program. And sometimes when they're really high intent and they really like want to have change, this is one of the things that we do, like help people form these little groups where they keep each other accountable. Because of all the positive mood like the positive effects on mood and your mental well-being and all that stuff, and because you get all these neurochemicals that make you feel good because you're being more active, and you're doing it with friends, it starts being fun. And once it starts being fun, it just becomes the thing that you do and that you want to do. After a couple of months, it's just how you live your life.
You don't get what?
No, that's part of the community that you try to build at work, right? At Ritual, where you see the same people every week in, week out, and you're sort of holding each other silently accountable for each other's goals, right?
Yeah, and I think it's necessary because we live very busy lives. We have the right idea, but to see it through by yourself is a bit difficult.
You don't get any people who put the fitness tracker on their fan and like log the steps.
Put it on the dock. I got my 6,000 steps today.
But yeah, I mean that was awesome, man. Like I think there's definitely, I think anyone listening to this could glean a lot from it. If you can put those links, that would be super great. And what would be your handle to look for on Instagram and LinkedIn and
_ Ian Tan on Instagram. On LinkedIn, if you just search for Ian Tan, you will find me.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Sweet. But yeah, thanks for opening up about mental wellness and even your own struggles in your journey. I think the most important thing is that people, they see you as the inspiration of fitness world, but also, I think your message about mental well-being and having compassion for yourself, I think that's something that people can take away from today as well. That will be very helpful for them.
Yeah, thanks so much. Thanks so much for having me. I was encouraged by a couple of friends to share the story because at first I was a bit embarrassed, right? Like fitness guy going through all this stuff, but I see it now. I see the value in sharing. So thanks for having me.
It's great, man. And now I'm seriously thinking at some point, how can I fit an ice bath into my house?
We put one here. We put one here.
They will just be here all day. Just be here.
I have a friend that sells ice baths, like really nice ones. Not the fridges.
Oh, the fridge. No, I like the fridge. Like, I mean, just like our studio, right? It's DIY. The fridge is a nice thing, like the nice aspect to it. But cool, awesome. So I mean, the last part of our podcast is always our one shook thing. So Terrence and I can go first. So you still have a few more minutes to think of something. Terrence, you have your one shook thing?
I do. Actually, it's quite related to things we're talking about. But about a year ago, the CNN news anchor or journalist, Anderson Cooper, I don't know the guy with the white hair and everything. He created a podcast under CNN, but it's his own personal experience with dealing with grief because he lost his dad when he was younger. His brother committed suicide in front of the family, and his mother, who was quite a rich, famous person in American society, she passed away right before COVID or something, or maybe earlier than that. I can't be certain, but basically he realized that everybody in his life that knew anything about him before he was an adult and all has moved on already. So he created this podcast to sort of process and understand the grief that he was facing and why it molded him and shaped him into becoming a war zone, journalist and everything. Because he said early in his life he was going out to these war zones because that's where he felt that sense of grief and loss in people, and he didn't feel awkward having to tell people about it and all. So this podcast in a way is now, all these years later, he's become a dad himself, with his partner. They have 2 children. And like what I was mentioning earlier, he felt it was very important that he comes out and talks about his process of grief and comes face to face with it and just understands it as part of his identity, being a news anchor, being a gay parent and things like that. So yeah, it was a very interesting series. He talks about his experience. He talks to Stephen Colbert about Stephen Colbert's losing his dad and his 2 brothers when he was like 10 years old. And yeah, so all these experiences of people processing grief and how difficult it was for them to come out and talk about it, or even their own personal mental health struggles as a result. I thought it was a very interesting listen. And you wouldn't expect that from a war zone journalist from CNN to talk about these things, but he did it in a very, very, very classy, very entertaining way,
So it's a like season of
it's a season of podcast.
I'm gonna listen to that.
Yeah. And he has gone on Stephen Colbert's show and talked about it, and they talk about their grief and the process of grieving very openly as well, which is quite cool. Yeah,
that's
awesome.
great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay. My one shock thing is actually news that there's this Singaporean women footballer called Danielle Tan, who is the first Singaporean to play in a European league. She joined Borussia Dortmund. Yeah, Borussia Dortmund last year. And she debuted. And recently she just got a hat-trick during Borussia Dortmund's match against DJK Spurghurten. They won 13-0, but she scored 3 goals.
Wow.
And that's awesome because, I think there's so much, globally there's more attention on women's sport now, but I think even locally there's a lot more attention on sport. And the Singapore women athletes have been doing amazing. Shanti Pereira, Danielle Tan, just to name a few. And scoring a hat-trick, this is awesome. While the whole, even FAS, I think recently there was some controversy about how the president had a walkover, and you look at the state of men's football, you're like, ugh. But there's someone in Europe holding the Singapore flag.
That's awesome.
Kicking ass, literally.
Yeah.
All right, man. Ian.
There is this Netflix series called Live to 100. I think it's about blue zones.
Yeah.
And blue zones are specific areas around the world where people live seemingly effortlessly past 100. And this dude who's been studying them for 20 years did this series to try and find the commonalities, the patterns of like how these people live their lives. And it's, in the rural areas of Okinawa. It's in this island called Ikaria in Greece. I think there's a place called Nakoya or something like that in Costa Rica. And Sardinia in Italy, and one or two others. And it's fascinating because there really are commonalities that he found. And they all stay physically active, but not in a structured exercise kind of way. They just have to walk a lot and do a lot of manual labor. They all eat natural, unprocessed foods, just whole foods, lots of greens, lots of fruits, lots of legumes, that sort of thing. And they all, not all, but most of them have a very clear sense of purpose. And in Okinawa, they call it ikigai. And there's a term for it for those people in Costa Rica as well. I can't remember what it's called, but it has the effect of you wake up every morning and you know your purpose in life. And I think that's really important too. So that really resonated with me. And the other thing was social connection and community and coming together. And in all these places, they had like multi-generational homes, and they respected the elders and they saw them as sources of wisdom versus whatever. It was fascinating. It was really nice series.
I remember seeing a TED Talk. I don't know if it's the same guy who did, but if you say that someone who's been studying this for 20 years, I think it's in that city of Sardinia where in the bars, they have pictures of old people because they're like seen as like heroes, and they are celebrated. And I thought that was fucking crazy. And also in Okinawa, I remember during the TED Talk, they mentioned there's this group of 6 women, all above 100. They've been having lunch together every day for 97 years.
Yep.
Holy shit! It's fucking. Was that also?
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the term, but they have a term to describe this community thing where they put intention behind being there for each other. It actually, not this series, but something similar from a book that I was reading a few months ago inspired my wife and I to start every Sunday in the late mornings. We pull a small group of our really close friends, some have kids too. We pull them together and we just cook brunch. And it was also good timing because everything is so expensive in Singapore right now. So we just go to one of our houses and we come together. We put some intention behind having a community that is not related to the work thing, not related to anything else. It's just a group of people who like each other, love each other, coming together to share a meal and to have a good time. And I think I forgot to prioritize that for a long time. And it's so funny because we get to Friday, Saturday, and sometimes I forget that, we have to arrange the Sunday thing, like whose house is it going to be at? And there's always a bit of inertia, and I'll talk to my friends in that group, like, okay, who's in, who's coming? Because sometimes people have things to do. And there's always a bit of inertia, but then when we show up there on Sunday, we love it. We love it, and then the kids love it, and then we're so happy. Nobody looks at their phones, and we're just enjoying the time and the conversation. It's great. Yeah.
Oh, shit. That's awesome, man. Wow. Yeah. But cool, man.
Yeah.
Dude,
cool.
Thanks so much for joining us. This was
Thank
great.
you so much. Thanks so much for having me.
And thanks everyone for listening. We'll talk to you all soon.